You know what? Let's deal with some local politics first. Now, just because it's a long weekend doesn't mean the business of government and opposition takes a break. And probably one of the busiest beavers in politics at the moment is none other than Senator James Patterson, the Victorian who's just picked up the shadow finance portfolio in the Susan Ley reshuffle, and who is, in a way, sort of continuing the campaign spokesman role he had during the election. Now, going into the fray this morning, there was Patterson mixing it up with David Spears over at the ABC. The big elephant in the room, of course, was the U.S. and the potential meeting between Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and U.S. President Donald Trump in the context of Australia's anemic defense spending, Labor's need to get a trade deal, and the White House's desire to get more access to our markets, while just maybe also getting us to up our game a little bit when it comes to freedom of speech, too. So here's a bit of Patterson talking trade deals with David Spears.
The UK has done a deal with Donald Trump, and that involves granting unprecedented access for American beef to the British market. Are you saying Australia should do that?
No, I'm not saying that, David.
OK, but you're essentially saying he should get the deal that Keir Starmer has got without doing what Keir Starmer has done to get it.
No, I'm not saying that, David. I'm just saying that Keir Starmer proves that it is possible to get an exemption. It is not an impossible task, and what we ask and expect of the Prime Minister is that he put our best foot forward, that he make those arguments. And I have to say, I think that would have been much easier if, like Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister had made the effort to go and meet the President earlier than he has now. It's 7 months on since the President was elected, and other world leaders like Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have made the trip to the United States and have met with the President multiple times in multiple forums. The Australian Prime Minister has not yet done so.
And you know what? He's right about that. The Prime Minister has not gone to Washington. He's only had a couple of phone calls that we know of. I suspect he's a little bit nervous about the whole thing. Meanwhile, here on Sky, Trade Minister Don Farrell would not be drawn on the question of whether or not Albo would even wind up getting that meeting with the president at next weekend's G7 summit meeting.
We'll see what happens this time next weekend.
Who knows? Anyway, Farrell also said that he had met with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer, and that, well, things went about as well as could be expected.
Look, he certainly made it clear that these are ultimately decisions that the President of the United States will make. But he, look, it was a friendly discussion. It wasn't a difficult discussion in terms of the relationship between us.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? But there's still a few things that need to be worked out. One, of course, is the question of market access for American beef producers, which was flagged just a moment ago by Senator Patterson. Two, there's the much bigger issue of defense spending. Now, we know the Trump administration wants us to go to 3.5% of GDP. The coalition, I think, is saying 3%. And we know that this is a very big issue with Donald Trump, because if there is anything Trump cannot stand, it's a freeloader. And looking at Australia and our anemic defense forces, well, he might very well think that charge would stick. And then there's another issue, though, and this issue doesn't, I think, get enough play here in Australia because maybe we don't think it's quite as important as they do in America. But let me tell you, as an American, they do think it's important.